The forum was buzzing with a post about me, pinned right at the top. People were calling me names like manipulative and cheap, even accusing me of climbing ranks dishonestly. The worst they called me? A white lotus. It all began with the game Honor of Kings. I started playing mainly because I loved the game skins. It turned the PvP mobile game into a fashion show for me. But I had a big problem. I have a terrible sense of direction.
I think I might be the only person who gets lost in the King's Canyon.
My brother usually played on my account to rank up. Just 3 days into the new season, he had already reached Star Glory I. One day, feeling bored, I logged in and checked my messages, only to find a bunch of CPDD, couple-seeking, messages.
I spat water all over my phone screen.
After cleaning up, I found myself already queued into a game, automatically locked in as Yao. In my headset, a girl sounded a bit annoyed, and a boy was trying to comfort her.
QAQ, with a name like that, it's probably a girl. It's normal if she can't play other heroes.
Her most used heroes are all side lanes, but she picks Yao. I think she's targeting me.
Oh, so we were matched with a couple. The girl locked in Sam and then asked me to swap heroes.
I'm not very good at the game, and I definitely can't handle a hero like Sam that requires skill. I'm sorry, but I can't play him.
After hearing my voice, the headset went silent. Then, the marksman and mid laner started showering me with compliments about my voice.
Really? I think it's pretty average.
Sis, Ethan is my CP. Do you really feel okay riding on him?
I then noticed her CP had picked Ethan, and considering Yao's mechanics, it was indeed awkward.
Just to be clear, I'm terrible with Sam. Don't blame me if we lose.
No worries, sis. Ethan and I will come help you gank.
With that, I couldn't refuse anymore and swapped heroes with her, entering the game. 2 minutes in, I got caught and taken down by the enemy jungler, Griffin. Meanwhile, Ethan, Yao, and Robin were fighting the dragon in the bottom lane. After Griffin took me down, their whole team went to the dragon pit, encountered our low-health trio, and secured the dragon along with 3 kills. Not even 3 minutes in, we were at a huge disadvantage. By the 10th minute, we lost a team fight at the dragon pit, leaving only me, Ethan, and Yao alive. To avoid getting wiped out, we decided to split up and run. But to my surprise, Ethan also boarded the ship, leaving Yao to be surrounded and taken down. After that, Yao started AFKing at the fountain, cursing Ethan and me, and the rest of the team joined in without knowing the full story. Naturally, we lost the game, and she started spamming the public chat, cursing me. I logged off to avoid the drama. And that's how I got called out. I only found out about it when my brother told me. I decided to log in and check, but as soon as I did, someone invited me to a game, and I accidentally accepted. It was quite sudden. Once in the game, I didn't even see who it was before I got camped by the enemy team. I was playing Arthur in the top lane and got tower dived over 10 times. After dying so many times, my teammates started complaining.
Why did you die again?
Is this a kid playing on an adult's account?
Unlucky to have such a teammate.
I wanted to apologize over the mic, but remembering the weird encounters I'd had before, I decided against it. Later, my teammates seemed to notice something was off and asked in the public chat what I had done to provoke them. In the chat, the enemy Kathy accused me of interfering in her relationship, causing their breakup, and shamelessly asking her boyfriend to help me rank up. She even suggested they let us win the next game if we didn't interfere with them camping me. Throughout the game, the girls' insults got worse, and even the guys who tried to intervene got verbally attacked. The public chat was filled with her ranting.
How could we play like this?
Just as I was about to AFK, someone who hadn't spoken the entire game cut in.
Shut up!
He continued.
I'm her boyfriend, Chris. Does she need anyone else to help her rank up?
Kathy was stunned into silence. The rest of the game went smoothly, and with Chris's excellent coordination, we quickly turned the game around. After that, we camped Kathy at her fountain. The satisfaction of revenge was indescribable.
Feel better?
Absolutely.
Kathy ended up crying, and her teammates begged us to let her go.
My girlfriend was taken down 20 times by you guys. I've only taken her down 12 times. Still need 8 more.
Chris said in the public chat and continued camping the fountain. This time, I just rode the wave to victory. After the game, Chris messaged me.
Stick with me next time. You know how to use your hero's skills, right?
Yes, thanks for earlier.
No problem. They were out of line. You can use voice chat from now on. With me around, that won't happen again.
His tone was calm but gave me a sense of sincerity and assurance. Despite being a top player, he wasn't arrogant, more like a teammate making small talk. I didn't feel like playing anymore, so I thanked him and prepared to log off. He sent another message.
Can you be my temporary game CP? Someone's meeting me tomorrow night. As a thank you, I can help you rank up for free.
Aren't you afraid I'll drag you down?
No, you're a little war god.
Despite being a noob, I had the audacity to name myself War God, which made me blush a bit. After logging off, I got a call from Aunt, asking me to deliver a document to her. That was a tough one. I finally found the anatomy building she mentioned but was stumped, not knowing whether to go left or right.
Can't you tell left from right? Decide where you wear your bracelet.
That voice sounded so familiar. I turned around and saw a guy in a white lab coat and a mask. The first thing that came to my mind was the avatar of Chris, followed by the delivery guy who brought me sweet soup. Are all pleasant voices mass-produced these days? Why do they seem to be everywhere?
Isn't room 401 that way?
Walk straight for 5 rooms, take the stairs on the right, then turn left. The first room on your right is it.
I nodded reluctantly and started walking, counting as I went, 1, 2, 3, 4.
Follow me.
His decision made me breathe a sigh of relief, and I quickly followed. My aunt was rummaging through her things when she saw him and seemed surprised. He pointed at me, and she understood.
Thanks for bringing the document, Laura.
Aunt, who was that guy just now?
Him? The handsome guy from our department, Chris.
I remembered the name. There was a voice acting competition at our school before, and the broadcasting department's star had invited an outsider named Chris. There was an audio clip of him coaxing a child to eat, and his gentle tone made my spine tingle. I wished I could be that child, willing to eat a whole basket of food.
He's single and available.
Aunt, do I look like that kind of person?
Her expression told me, yes, very much so.
Stop drooling. Don't scare him away before you even get a chance. Here, I'll give you his WeChat. Good luck.
I opened the contact card. The avatar was a clear blue sky, and the nickname was just Chris, with no other useful information. So aloof? I hesitated for a while and decided to start with the directions he gave me earlier. There was no response for a long time after I sent the message. I closed my phone and wandered the hallway with my sketchpad, looking for a place to draw. This building was constructed years ago, with cement lattice windows and brick red and white walls. The lush ivy, bathed in the afternoon sunlight, turned into a unique oil painting. I found a quiet corner, sat down cross-legged, and took out my drawing tools. The light and shadows shifted silently, leaving only traces of the fleeting moments.
What are you drawing?
The sudden voice behind me startled me. I stood up in a hurry, dropping my sketchpad and pencils, and even knocked his book out of his hand. Chris. I met his gaze, and he was smiling at me. His mask was off, revealing a high nose bridge, curved lips, a defined jawline, and those eyes reflecting the summer sunlight. Thump, my heart skipped a beat, and I dropped everything I had just picked up.
Am I that scary?
His voice was cheerful, reminding me of chilled lemonade, with ice clinking against the glass. I sneaked a glance at him, only to be caught by his gaze, making my face flush and my heart race.
Sorry, I didn't mean to.
Are you Grace's niece? Laura?
I remembered the verification message I had sent earlier and nodded. I glanced at the drawing that had fallen to the ground, now marred by a green streak right in the middle of the beautiful scenery. The drawing was ruined.
Sorry about that. How about I buy you a milk tea to make up for it?
Art is priceless. But I'm just an ordinary person, so I can only apologize in an ordinary way. If you need any help in the future, just let me know.
He came back with 2 cups of grape slush, one with regular ice and one without.
I wasn't sure if you could drink cold beverages. Hope you don't mind.
Perfect, just how I like it.
My phone suddenly rang, and my mom's voice came through, yelling,
Laura, come back and help!
My mom recently got the idea to open a dessert shop. Her skills are pretty good, and with the support of the neighbors, business has been decent. She always calls me to help with deliveries around this time. It was because of one of these deliveries that I embarrassed myself last time.
Last time I delivered food, I not only went to the wrong place but also accidentally cornered someone against the wall and got caught by friends and family. It was a mortifying experience, and I swore I'd never go back. I quickly set that order aside for Dad and put the rest in the box on the back of my electric scooter. Mom packed the remaining sweet soup for me to take to Aunt.
Aunt hadn't returned from school yet. I rummaged through my bag for a while before finding the room card, but it wouldn't open the door, no matter how many times I tried.
What's going on?
I looked up to confirm the room number again. It was correct, so why wouldn't it open? Just as I was puzzled, someone walked out of the elevator. I thought it was Aunt and was about to rush over, but it turned out to be Chris. My hands awkwardly waved in the air before I hugged myself.
What a coincidence. Do you live here too? I remembered Aunt's neighbors, and Chris wasn't one of them.
Just moved in. It's convenient for school. Did you forget your room card? Chris took out his card and swiped it, but the door didn't respond.
Chris tried again, but still nothing.
I glanced at the number on my card and blushed. I nudged him, I think we have the wrong room cards.
The situation was awkward. I didn't know how I managed to get into the room under his complex gaze. Would he think I did it on purpose? Suddenly, the doorbell rang.
Chris handed me a drink that looked like the ginger jujube tea I usually drank. I bought too much. I don't drink this, so you can have it.
I touched it, it was still warm.
The air conditioning was a bit too strong today, making my hands and feet cold. The warm ginger jujube tea quickly warmed me up after a few sips.
Humming a tune, I opened the game. Chris was already waiting for me. Ever since I pretended to be his girlfriend, I had become a freeloading master, using his girlfriend's name to win games. Although it occasionally annoyed teammates, they could only grumble because of his presence. Chris not only had excellent skills but also a very pleasant voice. Playing games with him was pure enjoyment.
I initially played the game purely for the costumes and designs. Being a novice, I was often reported by opposing players. But since Chris came along, I had moved up from the bottom of the food chain to just above it. The feeling of freeloading to rank up was simply amazing.
He didn't mind my freeloading at all. In fact, he even switched his main hero to match mine.
Yes!
Another perfect win. I was rolling on the sofa, forgetting that my mic was still on. My excited noises were all recorded, and I heard a soft chuckle through the headset.
Are you hungry? There's a place with great fried chicken. I'll send you the link, but don't drink anything cold.
I clicked on the link he shared and saw they sold sour plum soup. Remembering his advice against cold drinks, I only ordered the fried chicken. When Aunt returned, she was carrying a bag of fresh ginger.
Aunt, why did you buy ginger?
Question mark. Aunt looked at me, puzzled.
Didn't you go borrow ginger from Chris?
A bunch of question marks slowly formed in my mind. When did I ask him for ginger? Aunt glanced at the ginger jujube tea on the table, nodded thoughtfully, and smiled as she went to her room. I ignored her and continued munching on the fried chicken. This place's fried chicken was just perfect for my taste. The next morning, as I went out to take out the trash, Chris was just returning from his morning run, carrying breakfast.
Morning.
Morning. You're up early for exercise?
He nodded and handed me the breakfast. Aunt asked me to bring this for you.
Since when did Aunt need someone to bring her breakfast? Didn't she like eating corn? I nodded and took it. He seemed to have something to say. What's up?
The light in the anatomy building at 2 p.m. and 5 p.m. is special, and there are fewer people. You can go there to draw.
But isn't the anatomy building off limits?
I have my ways.
Despite being a novice, I had the audacity to name myself War God, which made me blush a bit. After logging off, I got a call from Aunt, asking me to deliver a document to her. That was a tough one. I finally found the anatomy building she mentioned but was stumped, not knowing whether to go left or right. The last time I saw that delivery guy, it turned out to be Chris. Isn't he living opposite my aunt? I couldn't help but recall the scene from the last delivery.
I got lost on the small path and the signs downstairs. After being directed by the security guard, I finally found the elevator. But then Mr. Yun grabbed me and started mocking me.
What took you so long? Are you lost?
Mr. Yun was wearing loungewear, a wide-brimmed fisherman's hat, and was barefoot, sitting on a small stool by the door. He looked like he had been kicked out.
Goodness, were they taking out their anger on each other after a couple's quarrel?
I had been searching for half an hour, with a few boxes of newly bought paint in my backpack. I was tired and thirsty, and already unwillingly doing this errand. Thinking about being treated as a punching bag made my anger flare up.
If you're angry, take it out on the person in your room. What kind of man takes it out on others?
I muttered as I handed him the bag of sweet soup. Just then, the cleaning lady came by with her cart. In my haste to avoid a stray garbage bag, I leaned forward. The space was too small to stand steadily, so I had to support myself against the wall.
Mr. Yun's head was right next to my chin. Just as I was about to stand up straight, my backpack suddenly slipped down, and the weight caused my arms and knees to bend, making me kneel in front of him with a thud.
At the moment I knelt, Mr. Yun looked up, and our lips accidentally touched. At the same time, the door behind him opened.
I couldn't even imagine how embarrassing I looked running away. I didn't even realize my backpack zipper was open until I got home and found a box of paint missing.
Recognizing him as Mr. Yun made the air feel hot, and I was so embarrassed that I couldn't stop my toes from curling.
How could I still have the face to pursue the big male god? Sob, sob, sob.
Remember now?
I instinctively nodded and then quickly shook my head. After handing him the bag, I turned to leave, but he blocked my way.
My friend had to leave early. You look exhausted. Why don't you come in and rest, Laura?
The way he called me Laura sent a shiver down my spine, and I followed him inside without resistance. The living room was simply decorated, in the minimalist style typical of a science guy. Only a pink bookshelf in the corner, filled with colorful books that looked like comics, stood out.
My aunt said Chris was an only child with no siblings. Could these comic books belong to his girlfriend? I couldn't quite imagine a cool medical god like him enjoying comics. And it seemed like he liked the same series I did. Do you read comics too?
Yes, the person I like enjoys them.
He glanced at the bookshelf and said it naturally.
He has someone he likes? My aunt didn't tell me that.
I withdrew my hand from the bookshelf and sat back on the sofa.
Just kidding, this is the latest issue.
When I looked up after reading the comic, there was a box of paint and a bowl of sweet soup on the table in front of me.
Wasn't this the paint I bought last time?
Found it in the hallway. The sweet soup has ice in it, so don't eat too much.
I was about to thank him when I noticed the takeout he ordered was papaya.
I glanced at the sweet soup box on the dining table. It was filled with papaya sweet soup. So, did my mom give him all 3 papayas she cooked today?
I instinctively glanced at my chest, then at his, and some inappropriate thoughts popped into my head. Maybe I was too tired, and my hands shook, causing the soup to spill all over my knee.
How could you be so careless? Did you get burned anywhere?
Chris immediately knelt by my feet, wiping the soup off my knee and looking at it intently, his expression tense.
Chris, it's cold, not hot.
Chris then remembered the sweet soup had ice in it. To cover his embarrassment, he quickly bent down to clean up the floor.
Of course, I know it's cold. Ever heard of cold burns?
Seeing the cool medical god flustered was quite amusing. I bent down and winked at him.
Senior, low-temperature burns refer to chronic burns caused by prolonged contact with objects above 45 degrees Celsius. Ice cubes don't reach 45 degrees Celsius.
As a child, I was afraid of the cold and loved hugging a hot water bottle in winter. Once, I fell asleep with it, and when I woke up, it was stuck to my shoulder, causing a shallow scar. I deliberately whispered in his ear, teasing him. Perhaps provoked, he shivered and suddenly looked up. Now it was my turn to blush and feel my heart race. I was pulled forward and fell onto Chris. The culprit quickly supported my arm, holding me securely in his embrace. Pressed against his chest, I could hear his strong yet rapid heartbeat.
I'm just taking back what was taken from me last time. Why are you so eager to throw yourself into my arms, Laura?
Was this all planned? I couldn't let myself fall into the same trap twice. I tried to get up and argue, but suddenly felt a tight grip around my waist, and Chris kissed me. Warm and soft, with a clean pine scent. My hands were locked behind my back, my breath disrupted by him. I could only hear my own erratic heartbeat as he gently but firmly took control. The door opened, and Laura felt the grip on her waist loosen. She then heard a cushioned thud against the door.
You guys continue.
The door closed again, and faint cheers could be heard from the hallway. He finally let go of me. I took deep breaths while he laughed happily and pulled me back into his arms.
One more time? I'll teach you how to breathe.
No way!
I pushed him away and ran to the kitchen to splash water on my face. If there were a mirror, my face would probably be as red as a tomato. As I calmed down, I stared blankly, realizing I had been kissed. I touched my still tingling lips, savoring the lingering moment. My face heated up again.
I can take responsibility.
Chris's voice suddenly sounded behind me, startling me.
I didn't ask you to take responsibility.
I glanced at him out of the corner of my eye. He was staring intently at me, making my heart race again.
Then can you take responsibility for me?
Huh?
You clearly threw yourself into my arms and kissed me.
Shameless. Thick-skinned people are indeed invincible, turning black into white.
I pushed him away, ready to leave.
You were the one who got flustered and angry when I called you out. The real victim is me.
My hand was grabbed.
Then I'll take responsibility. I'll take full responsibility for you. Laura, will you be my girlfriend?
I thought I misheard and looked at him in shock.
Laura, I like you.
I had heard those words before, from a boy named Alex. In elementary school, Alex was small, had just undergone vocal cord surgery, spoke softly, and looked like a delicate girl. He was often teased and called Yaya by the boys, who bullied him. I, on the other hand, had a boyish haircut and acted like a tomboy. To satisfy my competitive streak, he was my only little follower. Alex had taken a year off school due to health reasons. Though we were in the same grade, he was actually 2 years older than the oldest kid in the class. But I always called him Alex. Seeing him get angry but not daring to talk back made me inexplicably happy. I didn't call him Alex for long before he transferred to another school. The night before the new school year started, I threw him a farewell party, just the two of us. I mimicked adults on TV and poured him a glass of Sprite. He mimicked adults and confessed. I thought the world was small and we'd meet again, but Alex disappeared like he had evaporated. I snapped out of my memories, seeing a light in his eyes.
Laura, will you?
I was confessed to by my dream guy. I'm no longer single.
My mind went blank, his voice exploding like fireworks in my head, one brilliant burst after another.
I had already imagined him proposing on one knee, and in a moment of heat, I blurted out, I do.
Silly, I was just asking if you could.
Only a fool would reject a confession from their dream guy. I nodded furiously like a pecking chick.
So how should I see this? Did I succeed in pursuing him, or had he always had ulterior motives?
Sitting on the couch, I hugged my phone and giggled foolishly.
What are you daydreaming about? It's your favorite sweet soup.
Oh, thanks. Wait, how did you know I like papaya sweet soup?
I glanced down at my chest, which was flat but open-hearted.
Wait, does he think of me as just a buddy?
Chris seemed to guess what I was thinking and leaned in with a smile.
Papaya doesn't have any special effects. You're perfect just the way you are, Laura. I like you just like this.
Pervert.
I grabbed a cushion and chased Chris around, the two of us making a ruckus in the living room until the neighbor downstairs came up to knock on the door.
It was almost 8 o'clock. I had an appointment with Chris to duo Q at 8 tonight. Although we were just regular game partners, our characters, Cloud and Yao, looked like a couple. Chris, have you ever thought about being cheated on?
No!
I mean, hypothetically, if you were cheated on, what would you do?
I glanced at him cautiously.
I'd make her a dissection subject.
As he spoke, he even demonstrated where to cut.
Images of TV serial killers dissecting bodies flashed through my mind. The sweet soup in my mouth suddenly lost its flavor.
It's getting late. I should go home, or my aunt will worry.
Using family as an excuse, he couldn't possibly refuse to let me go, right?
Grace said she'd be home late and asked me to look after you since you're afraid of the dark.
As he spoke, he even opened his WeChat to show me, in case I didn't believe him.
Doesn't my aunt worry about me walking into the lion's den? Didn't she always say girls shouldn't stay out late?
Chris's smile was too cunning. I didn't believe him and reached for his phone. In the scramble, I saw his pin chat on WeChat, Piggy Laura.
Chris, you're the pig.
I grabbed a cushion and started hitting him. I'd never seen a guy give a girl such a nickname.
Let's play some games.
Using his height advantage, he snatched the cushion from me, sat down with his phone, and opened the game interface.
You wanted to witness the green field on your head, don't blame me.
I opened the game and peeked at his ID, freezing in place of Chris.
No way, no way. My game partner in real life?
My mind was racing, and just as I was about to confirm, Chris's voice drifted down from above.
The game has started. Even freeloaders need to focus, little Laura the war god.
Chris mentioned he stayed at his mom's place when not in school and only moved next to Aunt Grace for convenience.
I took this as an excuse to pursue me.
The little plaques on the trees in the south garden were recently installed because of my mom's suggestion.
That night, Laura returned to her mom's house.
Why so late? Got lost again?
No, I ran into a classmate and chatted for a bit.
A male classmate? Your dad saw you when he was walking the dog.
Laura quickly washed up and went to bed, trying to avoid more questions.
Does he really like me?
This question popped into her mind.
A medical school heartthrob with no connection to me, could he have fallen for me just because of a delivery mishap?
Laura tried to comfort herself, but her thoughts were still a mess. She hugged her blanket and fell asleep. In her dream, she saw Chris walking towards a beautiful girl with a bouquet of flowers, but that girl wasn't her. The next day, Laura was awakened by sunlight streaming through the curtains. In her hand was a message from Chris.
See you at the anatomy building at 2 p.m.
Laura remembered Chris had invited her to sketch as an apology for messing up her artwork. She packed her art supplies into her backpack. By 1 p.m., clouds had covered the scorching sun. The bus was nearly empty, and the air conditioning gave Laura goosebumps. When she arrived at the anatomy building, there were quite a few people outside, chatting animatedly. Laura couldn't see Chris anywhere. With some time to spare before 2 p.m., she decided to rest under a tree.
Hey, you're from K University, right? I heard your school's broadcasting beauty, Sophie, is chasing our Chris. Is that true?
Sophie chasing Chris?
Sophie was stunningly beautiful and could switch between a cool, mature voice and a cute, girly one effortlessly.
Would Chris agree to that?
The guy chatted a bit more, revealing that Sophie often partnered with Chris for voice acting.
In my opinion, Sophie will eventually win Chris over.
But I heard Chris has a girlfriend?
Not that I know of, The last few times we visited his place, he lost a game of truth or dare and kissed a delivery girl outside.
His answer filled Laura with disappointment.
Yeah, that delivery girl had it rough.
Can I add you on WeChat?
Laura hesitated, then nodded. Just as she was about to open the app, the crowd suddenly erupted. Chris was holding a bouquet of roses, with Sophie following behind him.
Looks like dreams aren't always the opposite of reality.
She averted her gaze and opened the contact page.
Laura, I was just a little late, and there's already a guy asking for your WeChat.
Everyone present was stunned, all eyes on Sophie. Laura watched as he knelt on one knee, holding a bouquet of roses in front of him.
Roses may wither, but my love for you won't. Laura, I like you. Will you be my girlfriend?
Immediately, the crowd erupted in cheers and applause.
I hadn't expected this sudden confession. Catching a glimpse of Sophie's embarrassed and unwilling expression, I felt a sense of satisfaction.
Walking side by side with Chris on the campus path, Laura was a bit distracted. She accidentally bumped into his hand, which hit a utility pole, leaving a pink mark.
Sorry, I didn't mean to.
What's wrong? He grasped her hand, looking down as he asked.
I wanted to surprise you. I didn't know she would come over with so many people.
I thought you were startled by my surprise. I remember you mentioning in the game that you didn't like crowded places.
Why did you confess to me?
Because I like you. He noticed her eyes gradually reddening and panicked. Did you misunderstand something? I really like you. I've liked you since elementary school.
Alex. Chris shook her shoulders, trying to make her remember those distant times. Sissy, why don't you go play jump rope with the girls, haha?
Sissy.
The little boy was cornered, his backpack thrown under the desk, with his stationery scattered all over the floor.
Enough! Get away from him! A girl with a boyish haircut grabbed the boys by the back of their shirts, pulling them away one by one, creating a gap in the circle.
A bunch of cowards only picking on others. From now on, Alex is my little brother. If you bully him, you're against me, Laura.
The girl was half a head taller than the boy in the corner. She comforted him while helping him pick up his backpack, walking out together to wait for their parents at the school gate. That year, Laura was 10, and he was 12.
Are you Alex? The name sounded familiar. She tried hard to recall the little boy from her memory, but couldn't connect the tall, handsome Chris in front of her with the small, weak Alex from back then.
Yes, I am. He took a thin chain from his pocket and placed it in front of her. Remember this? Little Laura?
Laura remembered the chain. At that time, it was popular for friends to wear matching bracelets.
So, I secretly used my allowance to buy 2 identical bracelets, giving one to Alex and keeping the other for myself, to show that Alex was my friend and bullying him was bullying me, Laura.
Her family had sent her to learn Taekwondo to build her strength and avoid being bullied. As a result, she became a little tyrant and found a little brother.
After I transferred schools, my family consulted a fortune teller who suggested changing my name, saying my fate wasn't strong enough to bear the name Alex. I thought about it and suggested changing it to Chris. Maybe thanks to your influence, everything got better for me. My height and grades soared, making me the tallest and top student in class. I skipped 3 grades and became the only student in the city to be admitted to medical school without an entrance exam.
So, you planned all this, including that game of truth or dare? She felt a bit proud, realizing she had been on his mind for so long.
Seeing his ears turn red, Laura felt even prouder and asked,
Why didn't you tell me earlier?
You had your college entrance exams. I didn't want to distract you. Besides, I told you in the game. He smiled, remembering the little deer girl and the god of the clouds in the game. Laura, I hope the person I love now will become the one I share my life with in the future.
Being Chris's girlfriend suddenly became the hot gossip on 2 university forums. Sophie turned into his rumored ex-girlfriend, and stories about how I supposedly came between them and stole him away spread like wildfire.
By the time I found out, the person spreading the rumors had already been taken away by the police, thanks to Chris reporting them.
I always believed Sophie was behind it because she kept causing trouble for me afterward. Her sharp tongue never seemed to tire, and whenever I responded, she would act dramatically. I was too lazy to argue with her, so I hid in the medical school to paint. After failing to find me several times, Sophie lost interest. Recently, she was probably busy planning how to attract handsome guys at the upcoming social event. The night of the event was noisy, and I didn't want to join the crowd. But then my aunt sent me a photo that ignited my competitive spirit. Chris was surrounded by a group of girls. All of them were in short skirts and tank tops, with black stockings and high heels. Chris didn't even think to refuse. Was I getting old, or had Alex gotten too bold? Without a second thought, I changed into a short leather skirt, put on some makeup, and headed to the scene. But I got lost in the medical school. Oh dear, where did I get the confidence to take a shortcut? I looked at the winding paths in the small forest, feeling both amused and frustrated. I could only rely on my instincts to wander around.
Well, if it isn't Laura. What, Chris isn't enough for you, so you're looking for some fun in the woods?
Sophie's sarcastic voice sent chills down my spine. I glanced at her and saw she was holding a baseball bat, with 2 tall guys behind her.
At least I'm not into threesomes like you, Sophie.
I kept talking to her while staying alert. The forest was eerily quiet, with no one around. The ground was clean, with no fallen leaves to make noise. Why did the cleaning staff have to be so diligent? I was internally screaming while slowly backing towards the campus path.
You don't need to provoke me. If you like threesomes, these 2 guys can satisfy you. If that's not enough, there are 2 more over there.
Sophie nodded towards the ends of the path, where 2 more tall guys stood.
Fighting will either land you in the hospital or in jail. Aren't you afraid?
Laura, even if I get rid of you, it won't matter.
Sophie laughed as if she had heard a great joke, hugging her shoulders.
Aren't you afraid Chris will see this? I dialed Chris's number, but it was busy.
At this time, he's probably too busy to play hero.
She was prepared, and I had been careless. I suddenly remembered Chris had added me to his family group chat a few days ago, saying I could ask for help if I was in trouble. I recalled there were a few police officers in the group.
So what? Even if you hurt me, he won't like you. I kept backing away while sending my location in the group chat and starting a voice call.
It doesn't matter if he doesn't like me. I just want him to feel the pain of losing someone he likes.
Seeing people joining the voice call, I turned the volume up and put my phone in my bag, placing it nearby. Sophie thought I was scared and got more excited, starting to brag about the privileges her dad had secured for her, like top grades and a free pass in her major, and winning a dubbing competition through connections.
Laura, I'm someone who stands at the top. Do you think you can compete with me?
My bag kept vibrating, probably because the group chat was blowing up. Sophie was really digging her own grave. I could only hope Chris's family wouldn't be intimidated by Sophie's dad and would come to my rescue soon. At that moment, the voice call was being recorded, and Chris's dad, a member of the disciplinary committee, had already started an investigation. Police cars were on their way to the medical school. Following Sophie's orders, the two guys behind her were about to make a move. I tried to escape, making noise in the forest.
Even if you scream, no one will come to save you. Today, campus maintenance.
I remembered Chris had mentioned campus maintenance this week, advising me to find another place to paint. I got distracted and was caught by the two guys, who dragged me in front of Sophie. Sophie grabbed my chin and slapped me hard.
Beg me!
Okay.
She bent down, only to get a mouthful of my spit. Just as she was about to have me beaten up, police sirens surrounded the area. The forest was bathed in red and blue lights. When Chris arrived, I had just finished giving my statement. Apart from some scrapes on my arms and knees, one side of my face was swollen.
Laura, I'm sorry I'm late. Chris rubbed my face, his eyes lingering on my short leather skirt before he quickly took off his jacket and wrapped it around my legs.
Hey, the doctor said the wound shouldn't be covered in this heat.
Right now, I'm the doctor. Listen to me.
And so, he carried me out of the police station in front of everyone. I heard Sophie was also under investigation, which made me so happy that I opened a bottle of fruit wine. With my low tolerance, my cheeks turned red after just one glass. Emboldened by the alcohol, I playfully pinched his face, my eyes sparkling like a deer's.
Will you always like me?
I will. Chris took my wine glass and replaced it with juice. And will little warrior Laura always like me and protect me?
Of course. Let me tell you a secret.
Actually, I've liked you for a long time. Since we were kids.